Okay, folks, good morning. We're going to do a little pick up where we left off yesterday. And where we left off yesterday was working on several vehicles and using a couple different colors because the old 887 brown violet, which is what was recommended, is using olive drab for the Americans, is apparently not being produced. There's a new 887 and they're slightly different. Let's see if I can brighten up the screen because it's pretty dull right now. Let's see if we can tinker with this. Okay, I'd like somewhere in between the two. That's probably good. Now let's use a painted miniature to see if it looks even remotely correct on your screen. Yeah, it looks all right. Never looks the same as in person. So here is the old 887 olive drab color. The new 887's here. It's just it's less brown, more green. So I decided to do one of each. So this is the one traditionally painted like the three Shermans I've completed, using the old 887 brown violet with an Agrax earth shade brown, which, by the way, just to kind of give an idea, I have done I've done 6 vehicles and consumed maybe a quarter of this stuff, so we'll have to be getting more of this. I'm pretty happy with the results so far. Planning on using it for the Germans as well. This is the same method that we've done the other 3. Guess it's not perfectly balanced. Doesn't need to be. And this is the new color with the earth shade. Now, I'm too close to it. I'm actually getting a lot of kickback from the glare. They're almost the same. I mean, it's definitely greener, definitely browner. We're going to start seeing a difference when we start dry brushing with the with each color on top of it. But you know, definitely compatible. I'm a little under the weather. I've got a headache, so if I'm acting a little slower than normal, I'm still trying to dissect what the purpose of what the headache actually is. And here's an M4A3 we did with the new coloration. So we're going to go ahead and start with the M4A3. With the new color and show you what I do. And this is a modified version off somebody on YouTube. I had to find out who he is, so I give him credit. He got me started up off the ground to just jump in. Matter of fact, I'll do that right now. I like to keep giving people credit for things, because see if I can do this without messing it up. Where's my subscriptions? Actually, all you gotta do is go painting Sherman tanks. And there's quite a few of them on here. I watched a few of them. Sonic Sledgehammer Studio. 4 years ago he made this video, and this is basically what I did. I followed his because I didn't want an ultra realistic looking tank. Not that I don't want it to look realistic. I don't want it to look like a IPMS show. Sonic Sledgehammer Studios. I don't know where he lives, but he's originally from Australia from his accent, so. Okay. Right. Off we go. So we're going to take, this is the same color that we painted overall. The thing that I did different from him was that, and he used this color, by the way. The thing that I did most different from him was that when I applied this color overall, I didn't get it everywhere. I specifically left, I did like a heavy dry brush, so I left black in certain zones. So I got like a free, really? What's that doing stuck there? I got like a free pin wash out of it. So. And oh, these brushes with these long handles are just a pain in the ass to deal with sometimes. Yeah, I've already took medicine. Hopefully we'll get better. I absolutely hate a headache. And, you know, I didn't even have any alcohol or anything. Just another typical day of me not having alcohol. All right, here we go. We're just going to lightly dry brush over this, trying to leave some of the this wash where it goes. Not so much on the side because there's not really anything for it to attach to, but it does give you some, I think the correct terminology is some modulation. What are them? Airbrush words. Modulation. That stuff didn't exist back when I did 1/35th scale models. People didn't talk about modulation with airbrush. It's progress for you. Oh. Morning, was watching yesterday's vid. You're right about the Sherman 105 by Fujimi. Fujimi kits have too many parts. Yeah, and they're they're really imprecise. Hello, Ian. Ian, your name is a bad word here in Florida. Not your fault, though. And not where I'm at. But I was thinking of that when I was having. I said, man, if your name's Ian, I'm not liking you in Florida very much. Yeah, I got a Fujimi kit. It's a piece of shit. Because I'll be honest with you, when I think of Fujimi, I think of Japanese. When I think of Japanese, I think of like precision stuff. I don't think of this. This is a Panzer 4J. And it had really bad markings. It actually looks great finished, but like the machine gun is, look, that's not an MG. That's not an MG anything. It's like a make-believe machine gun. It almost looks like an FG-42, to be honest with you, but it'll paint up fine. But I was finishing this thing up because all of these models were half done. And that's what I did a couple of weeks ago and had a freaking blast doing it. I had no idea that was going to be so much fun doing Repair Central. And I was almost kind of like doing some sleuthing and figuring out, okay, why did I stop building this? Oh, the idler with the sprocket wheel broke. I didn't know what to do. Well, I got more skills in the last, what would it be, 20 years than I did last time I messed with them. So, all right, this is in the wrong place. There we go. So it was a nice challenge and pretty much knocked it out of the park. As far as I'm concerned, I was really happy with how it turned out. here's the top of the turret. We want to do a good job on this because whoever designed this casting, like I said yesterday, needs to have an award named after them because this is a beautiful turret top. Just a beautiful turret top. I used to know who made all the vehicles back in, it's like 15 millimeter figures. Man, I've got my finger on the pulse of that because I keep looking at them over and over again. This scale stuff, I haven't looked at it in a long time. There's all kinds of companies that exist now that didn't exist back then. Back then, if you wanted this kind of stuff, it was either Airfix, Hasegawa, Fujimi, Eshi. Revell had some stuff. And a lot of these companies where they would have models of somebody else marketed by someone like, there weren't any fast build kits. You had to build all the sprocket wheels and all that stuff all together, which honestly, I don't mind. I actually enjoyed it. I'm a sadist that enjoyed doing this separate link track because it was a challenge. It was a challenge whose ass I kicked. Not because I like it, the process in and of itself. But it does add a lot of time. It does add a lot of time to the process. All right. If you're going to grab a model by something, grab it by the running gear because that's going to end up having so many coats of different color paint that it doesn't matter. Now, the only disappointment with this stuff is the decals that I got are borderline a piece of shit because they are not individual decals of the star or whatever. It's all one big sheet. You got to cut them out. And I'm not going to trim them all the way to the star. I might as well paint them by hand if I'm going to do that. So they've been kind of a pain trying to hide the square that I cut out, even using microsol, microset, gloss coat on top, gloss coat underneath. So if you look really close, I guess you got to get really close. Maybe it's not that bad. I was disappointed with that. Especially since the last ones that I did turned out really, really well on the Russian vehicles. Maybe they've settled some. You could see them at the right angle, or maybe the wrong angle. I don't know, I just wasn't expecting that. I followed all the steps. They're just a company called Petting House. Damn Germans. But there weren't a lot of options. I was surprised how few decal options there were in 1/72nd scale. They're like I wanted kind of generic ones where I could kind of make my own vehicles. Not, here's this vehicle and it's called, Old Dandy or, the whatever it is, one from a picture like the one with a wolf on it, or someone that was in Okinawa, or some of this, I want generic ones where I can make my own vehicles. Okay. So this is what it looks like with the color dry brushed on it. So we had this color wet dry brushed on it, And then we did the Agrax Earth Shade, and now we dry brushed the same color of it on it again. Okay. Now we're going to take this color, at least this is what the guy did in that video, and he did it with brown violet. He said, grab dark sand and do a 50-50 mix. And he was super anal about it being 50-50. I'm a professional mixer, so, or I think I am. So I'm going to put some of it over here and I'm going to wing it. Because this is what I do. I do this shit all the time. So I ain't scared. Now, because this is a new color, let's put some more of it on there. I'm going to go a little light. And you'll watch videos of people mixing. Okay, it's got to be exactly 3 drops of this and 3. Dude, it's not that precise. You can eyesight it. Okay, so this is the color that we're going to use. All right, and we're going to go over. And he did give a good point. Make sure you start with a running gear. So if it screws up, it's not that big a problem. Now, I'll be honest with you, one thing I actually suffer from is I tend to not do that definitive of a color between coats. So in other words, when I add colors, I don't add enough differentiation. So let me go a little lighter than that. Because there's only going to be one coat of this. I'm not going to add a bunch of other colors. There's only one dry brush color on this. According to him, and I went with his method for the most part. You start doing some of those, what's the word I can never pronounce? Zenthal and all that stuff. Man, I got more tanks to do than one in my lifetime. You know, and if you see my videos, I don't rush things. I take my time, but man, you can take too long doing something. You know, let me grab a little bit of water. And we're going to need a towel for this. And I'm going to get rid of this coffee cup before it ends up broken on the ground. You put something over on the right-hand side of me, it's probably going to get knocked down. I'm extremely right-hand dominant. Let's put the water cup down here, too. All right, see the headache's starting to subside a little bit. A headache for no reason. Probably had too much salt yesterday, to be honest with you. We all have too much of that. All right, so we're going to mix some of this and some of this. Kind of like a guacamole green. Hold the guac. Lots of people don't like avocados. I don't know what the hell's wrong with them. I don't think there's anything I don't eat because of texture. But then some people didn't get raised by a stepmother that made them eat everything or else. Food boot camp. Now, we're going to take this with this, and then we're going to bring this across the edging. Actually, I need to lighten that up a tiny little bit more. And just get the corners a little bit. Make them pop. It's pretty amazing that the one that has the most, I don't have a lasting, any desire really to build any more Armor Fast models. Now this is Generation 1 Armor Fast. This is like the very first one that they ever did. But it is by far the worst of them that I have, detail-wise. They're like flat, they don't have anything. And that's considering it is the one that has all the accessory kits and stuff on it, but it just doesn't, it's not of the same caliber. Now I'll go in here with, let's get a good brush, because both of these have been not a good brush. It'll take me a little bit a while to find it. That one's too good a brush. I really need to make another brush over. I got tons of brushes, and a lot of them I don't have a lot of confidence in. There's only a few tasks that I'm really willing to give them. Yeah, this one should be good. And then we're going to add we're going to pick out some details here. As I like to call it, force the shadows. Not very much, just Something to make things pop a little bit. All right. That's pretty much the color of it. Now let's compare it. I gotta put my glasses on so I can even see what I'm doing. See the overall picture of what I'm doing. And where's the other M4A3? Yeah. In some ways I like to turn it off, in some ways I don't. Yeah, well, it's going to look a little different because it's been sealed. And the sealing just adds other dimensions that it doesn't have before, but I like them both. The one that's greener is almost like it's been faded by the sun a little bit more. We have an Army Reserve base that has a little tank museum outside. I should do a video of it. It's next time I'm on my way to Jacksonville. Walk around on the vehicles. And they're really, really faded. They're almost like, they're almost yellow in color. All right. So let's do the same thing with the next one. Make sure we grab the right one. Yeah, although I don't see any reason why I couldn't dry brush this color on top of this one and then the brown one on top of the one that's green. Even more variety. Yeah, you could take things too far. You could take things too far. Okay, our speech lesson will be later. All right, more of this green color. And then at some point, we'll have to do some Brits. See if I can get that bronze green down. I got an Archer, an M4A4, and a Firefly to do. But I don't have any British infantry. I have 4 guys, which look stellar, but there's only 4 of them, so. The Brits. I know, it's the Commonwealth, whatever. I don't think I've ever seen somebody make some specific Canadian vehicles. And they were in the brunt of it in Normandy. Not that other people weren't, but I had to fight the little Nazi children, the 12 SS bastards. All right, we're going to do this. This color here, let's check again. Yeah, that's the brown one. Got it. The ex-Nazi children. Well, the interesting thing about it is whatever paint, this is using the spray paint, left like tiny little bubbles, which actually, and I mean they're really small, might actually make it look pretty good because this is a cast hull. Maybe they were already in the hull. I don't know. I'm gonna leave them be. I think it looks pretty good. What are you guys working on that are watching? What kind of stuff you guys working on these days? I like this dry brushing the main color on. It just keeps me from having to paint every single little nook and cranny and then going in there and having to and giving it a wash anyways. I'm digging that. Once again, are you painting? Nice. It doesn't sound that it doesn't sound that torturous. I'll be honest with you. There's some things like buttons and things like that which are quite satisfying to paint. I just don't like. I don't like picking up and putting down things. Like I don't like to pick this thing up, put it down for one thing. It just I find it very fumbly. I find it very fumbly. And when I'm doing multiple things at once is when I've made mistakes about forgetting to paint a shovel or something like that. Something off the figure. But usually if something gets forgotten, it's something that's tucked in. So if you find it, say after you sealed it, just go in there and paint it and just leave it alone. It doesn't have to be sealed. It's probably somewhere that's not going to get handled. Like a button. You're probably not going to pick a guy up by the button, or when you grab a figure, you're probably not touching his buttons. Or at least if you forgot any buttons. I played 2 games, 1 or 2 games of Malburian stuff. I think it was one. And this guy used a modified version of DBN, and he did it in 6 mil. And it's definitely a forgotten period here in the States. I'm not saying nobody plays it, but it just doesn't seem to be very popular. And I guess it went around for a long period of time, right? Because wouldn't it be like 1700 to like 1715 or 1714? Mr. Ben, welcome back. Just painted up some Old Glory 15mm Renaissance two-handed swordsmen. I almost know exactly what they look like. I wish the Old Glory stuff wasn't so generic. Recently, magnetizing bases, 2 DV8 picks army to improve storage. Also trying to fit articles into a 12-page newsletter. LLMain 80th anniversary special. That's another battle that went on a long time. August to November, right? The Germans pushed. I don't remember. That's just I like the desert. I just don't focus on that later period. August, Alam Hafa and all that. What happened? The Germans pushed. They got stopped. They held their ground. The British massed their forces and just ran their asses over. So yeah, August to November, I think. If I remember correctly. Now the later period, what's cool is The Brits have all kinds of, and when I say Brits, I mean the Commonwealth, so just deal with it. All the other nations, of course, are important, but habits, old habits. They they got Grants and Shermans and Valentines. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not a Valentine fan. Probably one of my, probably not a fan of Valentine. Just not a fan of them. They're too small. So if you're modeling them, they're just too small a vehicle. And it was the favorite Lend-Lease vehicle that the Russians got. Well, what opinion is a communist's opinion? Not really much of an opinion, is it? Now, they had pretty good armor, but, you know. Just finished 30 Years' War Imperial Cuirass. Only time that the horses took longer to paint than the riders. Oh. Good evening, Dirk, for you. I want to do some British vehicles in Northwest Europe with that Mickey Mouse dark camel. I think that looks sexy. I think it looks really good. Anytime, like the Crusaders, when they have like that splotch, that looks awesome. And same thing, you take the Northwest Europe vehicles and you give them those, you know, it was like the spray patterns, like on all the trucks and stuff. I think it looks really, really good. Really, really good. The splotch, my technical term. Yeah, stuff that we called it when we were 13 years old, you know. Just like World War One, attritional. Valentine, most produced British tank of World War II. Really, I didn't know that. It's probably easier to produce than the Matilda. The Matilda, I mean, everybody likes the Matilda. Everyone likes the Matilda. Except the Germans. We even captured a few. The problem with the Matilda is if you have to work on that running gear, you're gonna have to pray to all the saints. It's, you know, it's practice for the Churchill. And Matilda's awesome. Pretty much untouchable. Unless you got an 88. You might be able to touch it with one of those Martyrs with a Russian 76mm gun rechambered. That's a really long caliber 70. Turn it into a really long caliber 75. A 51 or something like that, I think, if I remember correctly. And the 2-pounder gun's not that bad. I mean, sure, it doesn't fire HE, but I always thought that was funny. Let's make a tank to support infantry. Right. What does it shoot? Well, the gun doesn't fire any high explosive. They still have a coax machine gun. Right? Matildas don't have a whole machine gun. I don't think they do. They have one. The driver's in the center position. Let's see how we're. Yeah. If I had to pick this color or the brown, I actually like the brown better. This looks a little bit too much Little Army Men looking. You missed the notice I was on. I was watching replay of chat by friend Vegas, a fat guy. He does die-cast, refurbishes, and does models and makes coin rings. All that stuff is really cool. I think coin rings are amazing. I have no idea how to make one. I've seen them like at craft show. That's the problem with a coin ring is I would have to cogitate so long for what ring to have. It'd have to be like a Spanish coin, or it'd have to be a real or something like that, and then it's worth too much to make a ring out of it. Those are really cool. Again, I think I was looking for something and I found people that were taking, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure they were Reich marks and they made them out of rings. I'm like, again, that's something that's poor form. Why are you wearing a Nazi coin as a ring? It's just bad form, man. Who the hell raised you? Himmler? And I've talked about that before. You know, people that play Flames of War and they play, I don't know, Hohenstaufen, the 10th, is it 10th SS or 9th SS? One of them's Frundsberg, the other one's Hohenstaufen, the two SS divisions that were at Market Garden. Oops. And, sorry, I didn't know those guys were down there refitting. And, you know, they'll wear a T-shirt with the logo of, you know, the Germans were freaking masters of propaganda. You know, there's no doubt about that. But I'm not wearing their propaganda. That's bad form. I don't mind building the unit. I don't mind saying things in German accents while I'm playing the Germans. But that's where it ends. I'm not going to support those. I'm not going to support those type of things because, as a kid, before the Russian archives were open, and I'm not saying that everything in the Russian archives is correct. Actually, they're a bunch of liars too. But it gives you another viewpoint of things. You know, I don't buy into the clean Wehrmacht. We all used to, I think, but nah. At the end of the day, you know. As a 13-year-old kid, when I was getting into World War II, I was just like, oh yeah, the Germans, you're just trying to, you know, pay back for World War I. No, it's they're up to stuff that they're a war of extermination, and that's a bad thing. They had cool vehicles and stuff, but that's it. So. I'm sure some people didn't know what was going on, but man, that's. My opinion on that's definitely changed since being a child. You go and you watch some old movie like. I saw this recently. What do you call it? Battle of Britain. And. It's all hunky dory. I mean, the Germans like got German marching songs, but it's bad stuff. He recently made a model of USS Arizona, which I appreciated. I had a model of it as a kid, and never finished it. Typical. So. Nazis did have some style. They did. I think that's why they're popular. They've always been popular in wargaming. And it's not because, everybody's, white power or anything like that. It's just they had cool tanks. They were everywhere. They fought everywhere. They had good marketing. And they're the underdog. And, in the end, they end up being the underdog because they don't win. So I think there's some there's some appeal to that. That's like, okay, well, they didn't do this good, so let me try to do better. That's what the underdog thing is. But I played war games my whole life, and I don't know anybody that was pushing that kind of ideology. I don't want to play with people that want to restrict my freedom, you know? So, yeah. So, but they were smart dressers sometimes, and but they were evil bastards. But I think the Soviets are just as bad. But it's good that the Soviets stopped them, because look how things turned out. And I think that this would be a bad place if the Germans would have won the war. This is bad. If you're going to let the Germans win the war, let them win the first one, not the second one. The second one, that's bad news. And it doesn't matter what race you are. I think it's bad news if the Germans win the Second World War. Okay. Now this thing looks really brown. Oh. I'm getting ahead of myself. We need to do the dry brush in the adding the color to it. Oh, here you can see the difference. I love it when I drop things. Let's see if I can turn this around so you get a little bit less shine. This light is so powerful. It's so much kickback. This is with the dry brush of the sand mixed in, and this is without it. It's more noticeable in person than it is on video. So we're going to do that with this one, and then we'll be done with her. Actually, I'm looking forward to doing a little Hasegawa truck. I think the big difference, though, between the Nazis and the Soviets, if you were a soldier on their side, I think you're better off fighting in the German army, because the Russians really didn't give a shit about you. I'm just saying, if you're, a member of the armed forces, you'd be better off being a member of the German armed forces than the Russian ones, because the Russian guys above you they just wanted to murder. It's just get rid of every single one of you, just as much. But it's better to play with this stuff on the tabletop. So. But I do like playing Russians. They're fun. And then somebody gave me straight vodka to drink at the convention, and I actually enjoyed that. I also treated that like I was, petting a cobra. Only because it's just fuel, basically. But so I look forward to playing Russians having vodka. Oh, man. That's about right. Maybe a little bit less. That's about right. And if they don't come out perfectly, well, they didn't fade the same way. I can tell you right now, this is a hell of a lot more fun than using an airbrush. Cleaning and painting in the garage and stuff like that, that's for the birds. Are we too close? All right. I think you can get just about the same results with this as with the airbrush. You just gotta, you can't do it all in one whack. You gotta take different, you gotta do different passes. You can't just knock it all out at once. You gotta have patience. Actually, the worst thing about an airbrush, in my opinion, is you get the paint flowing, right? You got the line how you want it, you got your thinner right. All of a sudden, in the middle of your project, it stops working. You got to stop what you're doing. Your paint's drying. Be careful. Don't tip your cup over with the paint in it. It's just like, man, what did I do wrong? And I don't have that kind of frustration doing this. And hang out with you guys, or you guys can hang out with me, depending on how you want to look at it. DBA Irish whiskey, yeah. What do you drink when running the Huns? Yeah. I don't know. I didn't play them long enough. They do make a cup that's shaped like a skull, and I'm like, that would be pretty cool, but... Honestly, I got the Huns for do some scenarios with Mitch, not really to play him in the open. So the fact that they actually won 2 games out of 6, I was surprised. They almost won 4 games out of 6. The light horse just can't hold their own. Number 2 is just too small, of a number. I just don't think light horse are represented well. I'm not saying that the Huns need to be all powerful. I'm just saying that the way you fight in DBA just doesn't translate well into how the Huns would fight. The stuff you have to do in the game just doesn't translate well in reality, in my opinion. And the only reason I didn't take the turret off the little die-cast tank is because I didn't want to drill in through the rivets out. That is the most dangerous thing I've ever done in the hobby. It literally scares me. It's like playing Russian roulette. It's like playing Russian roulette with a semi-automatic. I got to get my fingers way too close to that to make me happy. Okay, I think we're good with this one. And then let's grab this little guy here. Guns you have to not wash. I'm out. Maybe they're popular war gamers for that reason. Yeah, no kidding. Are there other people that aren't gamers that are notorious poor hygiene people? Like, are people that are really into sports, and people that are really into sports, I like to call them sports nerds. Because, I grew up in the 80s, so the N-word is not a term of endearment as far as I'm concerned. I think some people are like, oh, I don't mind being called one. Yeah, don't call me that. So there's other kind of nerds, the people that know all the stats and everything. Is there another group of folks that are just not into, or are notoriously known for not washing, other than the Huns and gamers? They say the Scythians did that thing with the enemy's skull. Maybe it was a steppe nomad thing. Yeah, it may have been. Ostrogoth did the same thing. There was just no drinkware. You have some people that make drinkware for you, so you don't have to resort to those things. Yeah, the Scythians, I think, because I had the book on the Scythians. I think they didn't wash at all because it was a religious thing. Well, there's a good reason to be an atheist. I like the shower. You can't worship our God. Good. He's stinky. Stinky God. I love this on the Sherman tech turret. I love the little spit the shell out thing. I love that. Like, get out of here. It's America. We don't save our brass. Reenactors can be pretty ripe smelling after only a few days in the field camping out. Okay. Well, aren't they technically like gamers in 1-to-1 scale? I got to shower every day. I have to, whether I need it or not. I could be home all day long. I got to shower before bed. I'm going to leave the end of this barrel in black. Smoky. And it was nice of them. They went ahead and drilled it out for me. That's thoughtful. Now, compare turret tops. Let's take some of this and force some of these shadows on the turret roof. And then we should be good with her. When you live on the steppe, water is probably for drinking rather than bathing. Yeah, but just cross the river multiple times. What's wrong with crossing the river multiple times? Oops. I've run across people that are really, really smart. They're smarter than I ever will be, and I'm okay with that. But on day one of a 4-day convention, they already smell ripe. I'm like, dude, you got to wear deodorant, man. They make it in everybody's size. How do you have a PhD and you don't know how to wear deodorant? It's no excuse. I'm not that smart, thankfully. I'm more artsy. bring the wet palette out here, but man, it just takes too much real estate. I may have to. See, this is where the wet palette really helps you. You know, you put a color down, and there's plenty there for you to use for about 5 minutes, but it dries out in 20 seconds. Just more efficient. Grab it by the part that's supposed to be black anyways. Recalling that scene in the movie Midway when someone asked if the code breakers ever bathed. Man, that's been a long time since I've seen that movie. I remember liking it. A lot better than the second Midway. I assume you're talking about the first one. I did not like the second Midway. Not a fan. Not a fan. Okay, we need to do the edging. All right, let's just use this one. Well, not as much edging to do on this one because don't have the sharp corners on the hole. I used to really dislike the cast hole Sherman, but honestly, it's got a charm to it. I'm not sure what this ledge is for. Almost probably made to put jerry cans or something like back there. What a much roomier turret. I bet even with a bigger gun breech, it's still a lot roomier turret. Yeah, you got to compare it to this. I don't know why that looks like it's got so much shine on it. It's got a flat coat on it. It's just a kickback from the light. It's so powerful. So we've got some color variety there, and I like it. These are exactly the same vehicle. I think we can mix both. What do you guys think? You like that? Mix them both? Heavy metal fans are known as smellies in these parts. Oh, heavy metal people not wash as well? I'm supposed to go to a concert in less than a month. So hopefully people behave. God, that turret is huge. Huge. Is it the T-23 turret? I think that's what it is. I don't know. Another reason to do Shermans is learn more about them. That's what wargaming about, learning about real stuff. Historical wargaming anyways. Alright, let's do the brown one. History Channel had a series called Suicide Missions. One episode was on the Sherman. That's a bit unfair. That's a bit unfair. I think the Sherman was an excellent vehicle. It gets its bad reputation from Normandy when it has to fight some super tanks. Those super tanks went around for most of the war. And by super tanks, I mean Panthers, because you're not going to encounter a Tiger or a King Tiger. It's a rare event. But the Panthers were just as, assuming you ran into a tank, the Panthers were just as common as a Mark IV. So, probably run into a Stug. I'll get it eventually. A Stug. More than likely. And this is the Vietnam. This is a horribly ugly color. This U.S. Olive Drab 889. This is an ugly brown color. Caca. Looks like caca. All right, we're gonna dry brush this color. The first coat overall. Headache's about gone. I wonder what it was. I wonder what it was. You guys play any video games at all? Anything on the computer you guys play? I do some of it. I don't have the desire to do it for as long a period as of time as I did when I was younger. You just don't have anything to show for it when you're done. Man, I need my glasses so I can find myself. Here we go. World of Tanks is an event coming up involving a Waffenträger. You should hear them pronounce that. Let me tell you a story about World of Tanks. It's not a bad story. I don't mind playing those games that are free. I never spend any real money on them because I think you need to earn the stuff. Otherwise, you can't appreciate the crappy stuff if you just buy the new ones. But anyways, so I've played World of Tanks a bit. And I've played, I know you play World of Tanks. I don't know that I have a tier 6 tank. I may. I just got the Panther. The Panther's probably the highest level vehicle I have. I honestly don't remember. But I hadn't played it in about a year. I turned it on the other day. I played on the console. And I used to play it on the computer back when it first came out. And then my computer died. And then it came out on the console. So I played it on the console. And I hadn't played it in about a year and a half. I had turned it on the other day after the convention because, I wanted to play a Sherman and stuff like that. And which I have. They changed everything so much, like the display, like I can't figure out how to do research and stuff like that. And I had played War Thunder a little bit because it didn't come out on the console till about, I'm going to say a year and a half ago, and I played it some. And after playing them both, I like War Thunder better. Now, with that said, the server, at least the server on the Xbox for the War Thunder, disconnected me so many freaking times the other day. Because I was like, the day of the storm, I'm like, let me paint a little bit. All right, let me take a break and because I was basically playing hooky all day long. I didn't have anything to do, so. And I tried it the other day, disconnected me. So I actually loaded up War Thunder on the computer last night because it had been on there. And I didn't remember my account to link them or whatever. So I'm just like, all right, let me start from scratch. And with the controls of the mouse, now I hate moving up and down on the keyboard. It's a lot better with the joystick. But the precision with aiming of the mouse, man, I had forgotten how precise that is. Man, I tore some people up. And I'm not very good. I know about the vehicles, but, and I don't have bad reactions, but there's some nerd burglars there that have some, that's all they do. I get tired of the same damn map coming up every time. But, yeah, that mouse precision's insane. But the problem with World of Tanks is there's some maps I never want to play again. Himmelsdorf, what is that? That town? F that. I'm not playing that map again. They don't have Step, and some of the other ones come up as often as they should. Markova, that's a good map. I don't mind the Karelia map. But Himmelsdorf, you can shove that up your, where sun don't shine. I'm tired of that. Maybe there's a way to never play those. Like, don't sign me up for that again. So I'm not big on grinding, But it takes a lot of grinding to play that stuff, the game. But I played it enough to, I think I got the T-34 maxed all the way out, and the Sherman maxed all the way out. And I just got the Panther. But I really enjoyed playing the Hellcat. The Hellcat was a lot of fun. I like playing the tank destroyers. I like the Hellcat. And but War Thunder, the thing that I really like about War Thunder is when you put a hit on somebody, you get this little screen at the top that shows what it does with the crew. It's like you hit them, you can see how your shell fragments and hits other people in the crew, and I kind of like that because that's how I like to play the armor game. Is you roll for hit location, and you see what happens to the crew, and I think that's pretty cool. Sherman is one of the reasons for success in Operation Supercharge Alamein. It's an excellent tank in the desert and reliable too. Took the Panzer IIIs and IVs at parity, and their 75 gun with HE was a game changer for infantry support. It's much better than a Panzer III, and it's reliable too. And the cool thing is I think the suspension on the Sherman's really ugly. That's because it is. But if there's something wrong with this wheel, you just take this whole part off and replace it. Bam, done. I mean, Pretty sharp. One of the officers that designed world tanks is or was in Kiev. And I refuse to call it. I refuse to call those anywhere other than the way they've been called for thousands of years. I call it Kiev, not the other thing they want to call it. Been playing Armored Warfare a lot in the past 2 weeks. You can turn maps off in settings. Okay, good. Because I don't want to play Himmelsdorf anymore. And there's a few others. Okay, thank you for that. So the movement is a lot easier with the Xbox controllers, but the aiming with the mouse. I pulled out a Stewart and freaking I got like 6 kills in a game. That's unusual for me, and I was being aggressive. Maybe they just didn't see me. So one thing that War Thunder does that's really cool is it has a realistic mode. And by realistic mode is, this happened to me the other day. I was playing this map, and it didn't give me like the red. Usually, you see like the red icons of what the vehicle is before you ever see the vehicle. This one was no red icon, so I had to sit there and spot and look for movement and see that it was an enemy tank and nail him. And he didn't see me. Like he went all the way around me and didn't see me. And I like that. I like that better. But if I had my way, you'd play like a curse scenario, and you'd be split into Germans and Russians, and you can only pick the vehicles that were there, not Soviet and German vehicles on the same side. But it's not geared for treadheads. It's geared for, the public. 11 kills, that's pretty good. I don't think I've ever gotten 11 kills. I like the Hetzer. Hetzer's got a Hetz. Little guy. Especially when it shows up, it's a really low tier vehicle, so there's not a whole lot of things that can damage you. But I don't see any point in spending real money on a game like that. You get tired of it, and then you don't spend any money. You don't have a vested interest. Man, this looks brown. It looks really brown compared to the other two. Hetzer's got a Hetz. I like playing the tank destroyers. I've played World of Tanks a lot more than the other one. I may have gotten 8 kills, but not more than that. It's difficult, man. Other people out there trying to kill you, I like that Soviet A-20. Man, that thing is flaming fast. And the Hellcat's a lot of fun. It's the fastest tracked vehicle in World War II, supposedly. I honestly think a BT-5 is faster, but it's probably, if you want that speed, you'd probably destroy it, because it's such poor build quality. I think the damage model of War Thunder is a little bit better. And that's the thing that sucks about the game. Like, it took me forever to get a Panther, right? So I get one, and I start a game, and I'm like, I'm fighting make-believe tanks at that point, because it's such a high level. I'm fighting like T-29s and stuff that, T-29s and T-32s, and experimental American stuff that never saw action. And I'm like, I can't penetrate the front of it. I mean, the Panther's gun is... There's not many guns that are better in World War II than the Panther's gun. And I just can't do anything with it. So it's like, why even bother getting better tanks? You're just going to end up fighting better tanks, and they're no good. Not that I want a cakewalk, but... I've had some fun with an Su-76, too. That's cool. That French AMX 40, the one that looks like a little duck, that thing's invincible. That thing has so much armor, it's crazy. It's like something out of a science fiction movie. No, I've heard the fastest track vehicle is a Hellcat. Chafee's not a bad vehicle. It's a light tank that packs a 75. Yeah, it's pretty nice. That's real nice. That's really nice. But at the end of the day, you don't have, it's fun, but you don't have any, I don't interact with anybody. I don't play with people I know. I don't talk to 8-year-olds with people that are 4 foot tall with a 7 foot mouth. I don't want to listen to children that should be spanked. Read some stories by Sherman Cruz about panthers running away from them, but of course, that's stories of the living. Exactly. Stories of the living. I read the memoirs of Otto Carius, and I just didn't care if the guy died or not. I just didn't give a shit. You know? It's a bit too clinical, too. The way it read. I should say I listened to it on Audible. Where'd the dark sand go? Did I put it back? A little bit more now. Show about suicide missions interviewed a man who'd been shot out from 7 Shermans. Wow. And he still kept sending him back. I feel like somebody like that's done their time, man. Like, you need to go home for some R&R, man. Man, just surviving 1 tank. That guy needs a break. You've done enough. Famous film of him crawling out of his one. Wow. I like the brown color better than the green. And it's not this. It's not as green as it is in that screen. It actually looks fine. I just prefer the brown. Yeah, but I'm glad I have both colors. All right, now let's do some spot highlighting on certain places. And then we can move to the next stage, which is beats hell out of me. I don't remember. Beats the hell out of me. I think I should finish one, so I'm going to do the M4A3 probably. You can buy the little, this 50s rubber, very rubbery. All right, where's this turret roof? Finished film with his foot gone. Ow. Panther shot his tank, tried to run when Pershing showed up. I love the books by Ken Tout on his experiences in a Sherman from Normandy onwards. Don Featherstone also describes experiences in tank battles and miniatures. Wonderful. I haven't listened to any Featherstone stuff. Wasn't he in the desert? I think he was in the desert. Pershing, huh? I'm not opposed to getting a Pershing and some Chafies and Never built a Pershing. It's pretty small for a heavy tank. I mean, I don't think it's bigger than a Panther. A Panther's just freaking huge. Which is, you know, good and bad. But then a vehicle that has a sloped hull has to be bigger. Otherwise, it encroaches on its crew compartment. Things that you don't take into effect in war games, but definitely affect performance nonetheless. Yeah, the crew compartment of a T-34 is not a small vehicle, but when you start sloping every angle, then it really encroaches on where you can put things. So I have 2 Persians for Korea Dragon kits. If you search on YouTube for Donald Featherstone, a bunch of his talks at a StoreCon from the 90s show up. The guy that uploaded them is called the Hysterian. Okay, cool. Yeah, he was in the desert, right? Father, a friend of mine, served in Sherman, Korea. He was wounded trying to close Tank Commander hatch, and an explosion went off with his arm out. So that's what he. Oof. Another not very popular war for war games, Korea. Does your 20mm terrain get the same treatment? I don't know. I haven't done any in recent time. Probably not. I wouldn't get anything done, right? I just see stuff that's painted like by masters, and I'm like, all right, I gotta up my game. I got a few 20mm buildings, not a whole lot. But there's a lot of stuff available on 3D print that I want to get, but I'm not going to let myself get it until we get some of this stuff knocked out. But yeah, we're going to try to do it justice. I'm going to try to do it justice. I don't need a ton of buildings because it's mostly room-to-room fighting. Not even house-to-house fighting. It's really, really small scale, so... I got tons of vehicles. I don't need this many vehicles. This is just something to do. I got so many T-34s. I could do some in snow. I can do some in... You know, I can experiment with stuff. All right, that's good enough for now. It actually doesn't take that long. It's got to stay on it, you know? Got to stay on it. I saw those pictures. I saw the Harstein Museum. And as a matter of fact, I've commented. I commented on one of the pictures put out by, is it War Games Soldiers and Strategy? Because they've got some German vehicles with some like some grass camouflage. And they're like, man, who does that stuff? Because that stuff looks amazing. Green Stuff Worlds. And their site is not easy to look through. It's stuff's everywhere. Be right back. Let me get us started. And it's some amazing stuff. They're playing the Too Fat Lardy stuff, right? I think so. All right, I'm going to try to do something here. I don't know if I'm going to be successful. I'm going to see if I can't get a shot at one of the Shermans that I just finished painting. And lighting is everything. Because what you guys see is not what I see. Because this lighting is really strong. So let me see if I can turn this around. And I'm going to have you take a shot at... God, it's so dark. This Sherman right here. The contrast is like perfect from that angle. And at least what I'm saying, you might see it too dark. But that's what I mean. It's like, you know, you take a picture and bright light, and that's what that looks really, really freaking good. I'm really, really happy with that. So yeah, this is, you can see my area is just, well, it looks like almost as bad as everybody else's area normally. But some of these have, even though they have a flat coat on them, they have a little bit of a shine on them. So I may end up doing the brush flat when I'm done. Just kill all of it completely. All right, anyways, I wanted you to see that. I don't know if you guys get the gist of it, but when we're done, like I said, I don't know if I'm just going to solo this. I'd be okay doing that as well. I don't think I'd solo it and not film it. I think I got to figure out how to play the game again so that it runs smooth. And see if some of these tankers suffer some horrible deaths that are entertaining. I hate to be morbid, but these are just make-believe guys. Okay, be right back. it's really good. Have you ever been to D-Day Museum in Louisiana? I have not. Louisiana is just far away. I have not. The place I want to go to is I think it's called the AAF Museum in Danville, Virginia. You have everything there from, what's that Cold War monster? An M103? They have all kinds. It's a private collection, and I wanted to hit it on the way to or from Historicon. They're only open on Fridays and Saturdays. That doesn't really work with the Historicon schedule, but I would love to go there. Flames of War makes 15mm Hetzer, as do QRF. The latter has listed under the official designation. The official designation, Panzerjäger 38T. Yeah, I've not been to the D-Day Museum in Arizona, in Louisiana. These guys. Miniature Building Authority. These cast things, they had some beach obstacles that were awesome. But I have no interest in doing a beach landing. It just seems boring. It's just very one-dimensional, you know? No disrespect to the people that did beach landing. I'm just saying from a gaming standpoint, it just seems very one-dimensional. Yes. Yes, you're a higher class nerd burglar than I am. I don't know the SDKFZ designations for vehicles that have other numbers. So like for instance, I know all the SDKFZ like 250s and 251s, but 222s, 232s, but you start, tanks, Panzerkampfwagen 4G has an SDKFZ number as well. I don't know what the hell that is. I like the running gear on the Czech 38s. I think it's very cute. And yes, tanks can be cute. AFVs. AFVs can be cute. Like a Hago. A Hago is a piece of shit. But a Hago is actually very cute. Just saying. Talk about something you wouldn't want to be stuck in. Oh, man. Love it. All right. We were going to do the M4A3 first. All right. We're going to paint the gear. Really? Hasegawa truck. We're going to paint the gear on here. And the trunks. I mean, the tank tracks are already painted. I'm going to dry brush them. That's the corners I'm willing to cut. I'm not going to paint the rubber on the road wheels because I've done it before. It took me forever, and then when I was done dry brushing, I couldn't tell the difference. So, yeah, you got to save stuff where you can. This looks great for a freaking toy. It's amazing. And I want to say I had some of them. They made a Mark IV long. They made the T-34 one as well, but it was kind of small. And they made a Churchill. So, by Corgi. Yep. Guaranteed it was under $5 at Toys R Us. 20 years ago. All right, we got a wooden box. We got some wood. I like the color wood I used for the other one, so let me see if I can identify it. I want to say it was probably chocolate brown. Yeah, there's a little bit of a sheen to it. We're gonna have to brush on the flat coat on that. Get rid of that completely. And that's why I stopped using on my 15mm figures a spray flat and just hand brushed it, because I wasn't getting a flat finish on it. Like this has got the flat coat on it afterwards. I've got 30 probably U.S. infantry, so I don't need to paint the infantry. I need to redo the bases so they look like this and not like this. That's just god awful. Yeah, we didn't know any better. All right. I believe I used SS Camo Black for this. But we're going to use chocolate brown on this one. And yes, I could use one and one on the other, but man, I really don't want to pull out the wet palette just for this. This takes up too much space. Let's do it old school. This is what I used to do before the wet palette. I used to take an old shim. This is the same material that the base is made out of. And we're actually going to need, three, one for the truck as well. Hopefully it fits on this length. Let me see. Yeah, because if I go to a bigger size, I got to go to, this is 4, I believe this is 4 inch, or maybe it's 3 inch. I don't have much of the other size. We need to save them for like monstrosities that won't fit on here. Right. Black. Some of those SDKFZ designations are confusing for me, like the big half tracks that they had, that had like the quads 20s or the single 37s. I forget, that's like a SDKFZ 7/2, and the one with the 37's a 6. You know, I don't know. I don't delve in those things that often. I'm sure by the time I paint them, I'll be able to get that down. T-34 World Tanks with the L11. Apparently with a short barrel 76. Says it was made before the war started. Were they at Barbarossa? They were. That's what they call, and I don't like the German designation of T-34A, T-34B, C, F that. That's the model 1940. Yeah, and I want to say some of them were Finland, but they were like state of the art. They didn't make that many of them in that model. I want to say maybe 1,000 of them in the 40, and then they all went to the 41. And the early one is different because the recuperator, I have some of them. I have like 7 or 8 of them, which I got from that estate sale. And there's some of those that are like in German service too. I hope I don't regret not using the wet palette, but I'm lazy. All right, I'm regretting it already. That didn't take long. All right, let's make room for the big guy, and we're gonna have to switch the paper on it because it's just a cluster. Speaking of cluster, this room is a cluster. The Sherman book can go over there. This can go here. Yeah, it's got an 11 caliber 76mm gun, which is pretty shoddy, but German guns basically can't hurt it unless it's an 88. I don't think they had very many Pack 38s at the invasion of Barbarossa. They might have had a few, but Let's wet this again and we'll give it a new one. If you want to see something really cool, there's a guy on YouTube, and his channel is just called his name, which I can appreciate that. His name is João, I believe it's Joao, and his last name is like Peixoto. He's Portuguese. Pexioto, something like that. And he does this scale for rapid fire, and it is, hold on to your hand grenades. You gotta see it. If you want to see a lot of vehicles, it is freaking impressive. The amount of stuff that he has, it is really impressive. And I'll be honest with you, he's one of the, I found him, and he's one of the catalysts for like, okay, I got to get my stuff done, because I'll never have even a tenth of what he has, or maybe even a 50th of what he has. But just the fact that he got that much stuff done is like, man, why can't I get the few vehicles I have done? And it's impressive. It's really, really impressive what he has. He lives in Portugal, and he has pretty good English. He has really good English, and I think he's really pleasant to listen to. So check him out if you want to see lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of tanks. And he has them organized into units. For rapid fire, of course, is a 1 to 5 scale game like Command Decision, Spearhead. Many other games use a 1 to 5. I'm kind of a fan of that. If I was going to play operational games, which I've done before, it's just not my thing. But that's what I started with, and really impressive the amount of stuff that he has. He has them organized into all kinds of units. And he probably has, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 videos of all of his collections. It's pretty amazing. And the thing that I like the most about him is that he talks about, and there I go and use the wrong brown. That's okay. He talks about each miniature, who's the maker of it. And he mixes and matches everything. Die cast with 176 with 1/72. So that was another reason I'm like, F it. If this guy can do it, then I can do it too. And it's well worth checking out. Okay, good night, Dirk. Thanks for stopping by. João Peixoto. I don't know how you say his last name. I don't speak Portuguese. And Portuguese is kind of a tongue twister for me. And it's more difficult than Italian, I think. But Check him out. He's got all kinds of crazy stuff. And he just did one of his basement. It's difficult to think of basement. It's like a word that's not in my vocabulary, considering I've never lived in a place that has one. Like, what's a basement? People that don't live in something. People in Florida that people that don't live in Florida have. All right. We have live paint here, so let's get this the hell out of here. There's some awesome stuff on. I mean, YouTube is really amazing. Just from the things that other people do, and just some awesome stuff out there. And of course, I forgot one thing: the magic drippings. Now, where's the magic dripping container? They can see it over here. We're going to be cleaning this area up after we're done with these Shermans for sure. It's like, only because I'm working on multiple things, and I'm working on multiple things because sometimes I've got to wait for something to dry before I can mess with it. So there's no point in not moving forward. But that's why we're doing all American vehicles. We're not doing, a German and British and a Russian one. You live on YouTube. It's wonderful. There's a lot of garbage on there too, okay? There's lots of free stuff. And yeah, you get a little bit of revenue from it, but you do it because you love what it is, not that. I think that's why you do it, not because I'm like, oh, I'm going to get rich on YouTube, I mean, I'd get a lot more viewers if I did things that were, more stupid, but I'm not into that. We all have stuff that we know about. There's no point in not sharing it. Can't take it with you. YouTube's great. Facebook's pretty good too, except some groups are just run by some administrators, are just a pain to deal with. And I come from that from a standpoint of someone that doesn't cause trouble and still just having to. I've had some bad experiences. Totalitarian administrators. So I don't fight with them. I just leave the group. It's like, oh, if this is how this group's going to be all the time, well then, I guess you guys will just miss out. One less group I got to cross post to. When you go in a group and you post for the first time because you find something useful to the group and you get treated like shit by the administrator, I'm like, well, fuck you. I'm leaving. I don't have to tell anybody I'm leaving. You just won't hear from me again. So. I don't post controversial stuff. I must have something pinched in my neck that. Acting up. The fat guy in Adrian's digital basement. Adrian repairs retro computers. I'm not interested in that. Oh yeah, the one thing you mentioned, refurbishing of diecast stuff. That stuff's cool. And there's a guy that takes like stuff that's like, I forget what his name is, but he doesn't speak, and he takes things that are like damaged and fixes them up. That's satisfying to watch. The guy with the gloves. Take like old toys and fix them up. That's some impressive shit right there. But it's all edited, you know? That's a lot of work. I'm lazy. I'm lazy when it comes to, stuff like that. Have you watched the guy that has that YouTube channel that does the races with the diecast stuff? 3D bot maker. That is some severe editing, and that's that channel is the same reason that I film DBA games, because all kinds of insane stuff happens. He's got a series that just came out again that he hasn't run in a couple years, and it's a demolition derby, and it's freaking hilarious. That's an amazing channel. He's got I think he's got like 1 million. So he deserves all those subscribers. He does an amazing job. If he lived in Florida, not California, I would have already contacted him. Like, dude, can I paint some terrain or something for you? I need to get in with you on something. I hadn't watched in a while. I was at the gym the other day. I'm like, let me stay entertained. We watched a couple of his old episodes, and before I knew it, I was like 45 minutes. Yeah, I think the demolition derby stuff is hilarious. People send in their cars. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not letting my cars get damaged like that. But it's hilarious, man. And the banter between, I'm not even sure if it's two people. It may be him doing all the voices, but the banter is awesome. I really, really like that. Definitely has a good talent. But his background is doing videos. The main guy, his background, that's what he does. So, that's a piece of cake stuff for him. Like, my background's kind of painting stuff. So if it's anything that involves painting, it takes a while, but this is a piece of cake. The videography stuff is the part that's just a pain with using multiple cameras, and that's out of my league, That's out of my league. And, I can't be into everything. But the little bit of video editing I've done, I know how long it takes, and man, that guy's multiple takes on stuff. And but the antics that happen between the different cars. Freaking hilarious. No, there's a lot of people watching. There was a second ago. People just working on their hobbies. You know, different people watch for different reasons. Somebody's probably waiting to see if Mitch's feet show up. They won't. They're not welcome here. All right. The pack's on the back. So we got that infamous wooden box to do. I believe we've been using US Field Drab for that. There's a guy that does the same thing with marbles. Is it worth watching? It sounds boring as shit. I never played with marbles as a kid. Is it cool? You know, I could make better videos, but then I wouldn't have time to paint. So, you take time from one thing and it gets added to something else. Let's go ahead and do the rope while we're at it. Now, I don't know where the hell this rope attaches to on the tank. I'm not worried about those details. You can take things too far. He's a good commentator. Makes it okay. All right. Speaking of commentator, many years ago, There'd be people I know that want to watch a football game. This annoyed the shit out of me. A football game that was on TV, right? And it was our local team, the Gators. So, and it was also being played by radio. So they'd put the TV on, mute its video, mute the sound, and listen to the radio for the commentator. And the problem I had with that is the commentator was obviously biased towards the home team, and I don't want to listen to biased commentating. It just, it annoys me, but it didn't seem to bother them any. I don't like biased stuff. But it was back when I felt like I needed to watch sports. I don't mind watching it. I don't like sports fans. Well, people get like emotional and cry about stuff. Like, you don't even know any of the players. They're not in your family. You didn't even go to that school. I don't get it. But then I can't stand people that aren't fair in games and things like that. So maybe some of that comes from that. And I really don't understand is when you do violent acts when you win. Like the hockey teams, when they win, they go when they flip cars upside down when they've won. Like, it's like if you give somebody $1 million and they reward you, they're so thankful they murder your family. Like, what's the logic in that? All right, we got the little logs there. Let's do the happy little box here. We need a better brush for this joker. That's a face brush. This is a huge brush, but it's got a good point on it. Well, it's almost transom light 30. You know what that means. Got to shut down for that. It only lasts for about an hour, maybe a little bit less than an hour, but it's enough that it gets really hot in here. And you can't see anything. I do like our local radio commentator better than TV guys. We have Ron Wolfe. He used to be a Cardinal. He's funny. But his broadcast isn't biased, or maybe you don't care if it's biased. I don't have a dog in the fight, so I don't really want to listen to biased stuff. We got shovels and all kinds of shit to do here too. I forgot all about. Hey, these tanks have a lot of detail. They're great, but they take a little while to do. Well, you know, the whole thing is you do it, and then you don't have to do them again. Well, I don't enjoy rooting the other team. Well, but you shouldn't have them rooting for any team. It should just be unbiased. Like, I'm not a sports guy, but way back in the early 90s, I lived alone and I didn't have any cable. So the only thing I could watch was anything that was on our ABC channel. So I watched Monday Night Football for probably 3 years. And I really enjoyed some of the commentary, in particular Al Michaels stuff, you know, because it's all stats stuff. Now, I didn't really care that much who won, but I thought it's like a war with stats. So I am a stat junkie. I just don't have an emotional attachment to anything. I mean unbiased like that. You play fantasy football, so watch 6 games at once. Don't really hear commentators. You do it for money or fun or little money. NFL's never been big in this. Never been big in this town. This town's all about college football. Which, by the way, the game is today, which is really weird. I think it's, you know, because of the weather. I don't mind going to the tailgating. That's cool. I've actually this year, actually last year was the first time I've ever been to a tailgate. I like that. And I don't mind watching the game. I just don't like people that get emotional. Like, you know, it's the end of the world. Like, you know, the other team's trying to win. Maybe I just spent too much time playing war games. I mean, I have played a lot of war games, and there's a sense of honor, and, you know, the other guys, I mean, obviously you're not allowed to cheat and stuff like that, but, you know, other guys are trying to win too, you know? They got a different way of looking at it than most people, I guess. Okay, and we gotta do a sack over here. I think we've done that one in green on all the other ones, so let's mix that up a little bit. Yeah. Especially since this is a greenish tank. Let's see if we can find something that's relatively drab colored. I have a friend I go watch with. He gets too emotional. I don't get it. Now, here's the other thing that I would get into. If you play like Madden or something like that, I can get into that. If you're playing with somebody who hasn't like broken the game and figured out how to kind of cheat or whatever, but just fun calling plays and stuff like that, I think that's cool because I'm actually doing something. I'm affecting the what's happening, but just sitting there and just German field gray. Oh, we'll do this and lighten this up a lot. Yeah, I don't like people that get emotional. You're a grown ass man. Chill the hell out. Yeah, the Harbachs love their Packers. I had a high school that had those colors. I freaking hate those colors. So that alone, I wouldn't like them based on that. Just that alone. That green, it's just horrible green. It's like they got last pick on greens. It's actually rare to find Mitch not wearing something Packers. Well, it's a beautiful day out there. noticed. Yeah, it's kind of hard to notice. He's always wearing Packer stuff. Always. I guess it's better than the people that are just fair weather fans and they're only into whatever happens to be winning. I appreciate loyalty. And at least he's consistent. I personally think you should like a Florida team. This is where you live now. Or we'll kick your ass out. Oh, we'll kick your ass out, Yankee. It's been nice here the last few days. Everyone in Vegas and Florida is saying it's too hot. Oh, where you're at? I bet there's a lot of Mexican food places where you're at. That would get old. When I went to Colorado, I'm like, I'm thinking Colorado. What kind of food they have in Colorado, right? Steak, right? Meat. So much Mexican food. I don't really like Mexican food. I like Tex-Mex. I don't want it for every meal. But okay. Time to paint the black things that are black on here. Should still be able to use this brush. It's got a pretty good tip on it. All right. Do I have a little piece of sprue left? So I'm gonna need one for the machine gun in there. I do. This was a pain to make too, and I threw away more sprue than I should have. I thought I had enough of it, but some of this old sprue just doesn't melt well. Even with doing it over the candle, I hadn't made sprue in 20 freaking years. I forgot how to do it. And I couldn't do it with that cool lighter. The lighter was too cool, not useful enough. So, we better we better put the glasses on or I might end up with an injury. There's a loose X-Acto knife in here. I guess I got so many tools now, I probably need to have a little something that's more upright for them to fit in. All All right. How deep does this go? Not too deep. Let's not do this one. This too much. The other one was floating around here somewhere. Thought this was the one that didn't flow well. Really? Okay. You slippery bastard. Perfect. But my favorite is carne asada burritos. An online friend said she worked at Taco Bell. I asked her if she was Hispanic. Yeah. Okay. I love stuff like that, but only if the wife makes it. That El Cheapo ground beef just, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know where it comes from or what animal it is. Not a big fan of unknown ground beef. We buy it, we buy the low fat one, and all right. Anything that's going to be metal, we're going to do in this color. Oh man, I closed this up. Damn me. There we go. That's why I put this screw on the bottom of this thing. Okay. Anything else we can reach from here? No, we'll let the machine gun set a little bit. The one on the coax. What was the game I was playing that... I gotta think here for a second. It was a game I was playing. You couldn't fire the coax. You could fire the main arm, and they're tied together. God, what game was that? Oh, Armored Commander. Should be able to fire them at the same target. He's like, no. After you spent to work at Taco Bell, I said in Arizona you do. Yeah. I got lots of comments I can do related to that. I'm not going to make them right now. But just say generalizations are generally correct. Except I really don't know where the Polish stuff came from. All the Polish jokes or whatever. Of course, here in the South, we don't have Polish people. If we do, they're... And I would do Polish vehicles, but they just weren't around very long. And I mean, you know, the Poland ones, not, you know, the 1944 Polish. What else? Okay, that stuff's done. Let's go grab. I think we used. Let's see. Well, I should just be able to look at them. Looks like we used the wood color, although it might have been the leather. It was beige brown, I'm pretty sure. For your information, they prefer Latino rather than Hispanic. I do as well. I don't consider myself Hispanic at all. Oh. See, I look at it the other way. Hispanic. I don't associate Hispanic with Spain at all. It's that H. I don't like the H on it. Bothers me. But I don't really consider myself any of those minorities. I think in English. I'm a spoiled American. Even people from Miami call me a gringo. I think that qualifies. I'm okay. I'm from here. I'm a spoiled American. And that's just what they do because there's too many of a certain denomination. If there was like a ton of Italian people, they, or whatever, they'll come up with another box to put you guys in, you know? They're always trying to divide and conquer. Okay. Flip all the way to the back. This thing has some amazing detail. Who is this uncredited person that did this? So we can have an award named after them. You guys believe that somebody took the frickin' award for my event on Sunday? For Don's event on Sunday, I should say. Frickin' crazy. Well, no, I guess I do the right thing by putting all my stuff away between sessions. Do I know where green go comes from? Yep, green go. Guys in green, go, get out of here. Yep. Reckon when they took the German scientists after the war, someone else took the tank designer and locked them up sculpting models. I don't. It is. It's amazing. This is like a freaking kid's toy. It's corgi. That's English, or it used to be. Corgi's a name that I associate with Dinky, Britons. Remember all that good old stuff that they had in the 60s? Well, I can't say before the 70s because I wasn't around. But, you know, all those kids, I go to all those things and be in a toy store and ask my dad for them, and he never bought me Britons because they were super expensive and we weren't made of money. And, you know, we didn't spend. My parents were fairly frugal. They were first generation Americans, and Mexican often heard cowboys singing popular songs at the time. Green grow the clovers. Oh, I never heard about that. Cowboys. Well, I'm not very cowboy-y. Although I don't mind riding a horse. We were doing that about once a year. And then when we go on vacation, just trail riding. But I'm not dude ranch material. I'm not going on vacation and picking up, you know, animal shit. Sorry. I'm out. Germans were bad tank designers. I don't know. The Germans just. I think the stuff that we knew 50 years ago just was wrong. You know, we had. This is just leaving World War II and coming back to it. Just like there's stuff that I thought I knew back then that just was just totally wrong. Germans are really inefficient. Like, and I'm really interested in reading more about it, but like Nazi Germany was like, it seems like it's just a massively corrupt and inefficient and you know, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. Um, you don't want those bastards to be efficient, but just one of the many reasons they didn't win the war. Better at making rockets. Well, you know, the one thing they did get right is I would say they were the first ones to get the command and control within a tank correct with the Panzer III. I mean, I think the Panzer III was a good design. I mean, it may not have been the most efficient one. It didn't have the best armor or gun or anything, but as far as for crew communications, they got that part of the concept correct. Whereas, you know, you take something like the French, I mean, the French vehicles were like incredibly well armored and had good guns on them, but a one-man turret? It was a terrible idea. Oh, we got to use some of this. I got to go to the little boy's room. I'll be right back. French had electric tanks. I don't know if the Germans were that bad tank designers. The problem is there was just they weren't efficient. They weren't efficient. There's this idea that the Germans are really efficient at stuff, and that's just not in Nazi Germany. That's for sure. U.S. put gyros on tank barrels to keep them level over rough terrain. Germans overdid tank suspension and did the same thing, but it didn't work. Yeah, German stuff was over designed and not easy to fix, and you know, maybe they were better at cuckoo clocks. Their stuff looked cool though. That's why people build German stuff. Not practical, you know? Not practical. You know, and on top of that, everything else, you got U.S. as a big country that's not getting bombed, and they're just cranking shit out. And none of their stuff was terrible. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Sherman. I mean, let's say the Panther and Tiger and, you know, things weren't developed. They never did anything more powerful than a Mark IV. Nobody be bitching about the Sherman. I mean, it goes up in flames. So do the German tanks, you know? I think this is all she wrote on that one. Next. Transom light still not here? That's cool. Maybe got a few more minutes. I heard, I'm not sure if true that we took so long to get heavy tanks over there because our docks couldn't handle the weight. I don't know about that. I find that surprising because if anybody's docks could handle the weight, it'd be this place. But I don't know. Yeah, Persians don't start showing up until when? January 45? February? Something like that? After finding those 15mm Talons yesterday, I looked through some rule sets and found something I'd never seen modeled in other rules. Tank phones. Apparently the Germans never adopted them. Tank phones. What do you mean tank phones? Oh, are you talking the thing that I saw something recently on, I think it was on a Hago, that the Japanese had this thing where, and I don't remember exactly how it worked, but there was a way for the crew outside to communicate with the tank crew inside. Like if they were huddled around the tank. I don't know if it was an actual phone or something. I don't remember what the hell it was. Is that what you're talking about, or is there something else? Tank phones. I like finding out something new. Oh, yes, you can. On the rear of the Sherman, they had a little phone for infantry to talk to the tank crew. Oh, really? Oh, I got to read about that. That's cool. That's practical. Well, it's not modeled in this tank. I didn't know that. I saw it on the Hago. I don't remember if it was I'll have to watch that video again. It was either something that Chieftain did or the guy at the tank museum or something like that. Uh-oh, I got that super glue on me. Well, son of a bitch. Very little, but you get it on your fingers, that's all you can feel, right? All right. Next. got some tools on here as well. Decals. Yeah. All these should be able to have something on the front of their hull. That's cool. I like having a star up there. All right. All the 50s need to be painted. And this one has headlights molded on there. That's cool. All right, let's get... Now, I've never seen a machine gun on this type turret stick out from the turret. So I'm going to leave it alone. This type turret always has two apertures in the front. One of them is the gun sight. The other one is the coax, I think. Never had one sitting out. So we're not going to touch that. I'm going to leave that alone. What Italian tanks did you find? When I first got micro armor, I did the stupid thing of, let me buy a pack of Germans and a pack of French and a pack of Italians and a pack of, Russians, just so I'd have some from every period. I'm like, you can't do shit with 5 tanks. What are you going to do with 5 T-34-85s? And you got whatever they had at the store. So I remember getting, one of the things that I got was a pack of bishops. And a bishop is an enclosed Valentine hull with a turret. It almost looks like a British KV-2, except it's on a Valentine hull, so significantly smaller than a KV hull. And it's got a 25 pounder instead of a 152 in it. And then when I started getting stuff in the desert, I'm like, none of these scenarios, none of these forces have a bishop. Well, the bishops weren't used until like Sicily and Italy and stuff like that. I think after that, after a while, the British started using sextons, but I was really annoyed to have this vehicle that I couldn't use it because it wasn't any order or battle of anything that I had. But, I stupidly bought whatever, being a dumbass 18-year-old kid. Because they had it at the store. British used phones on Mark I tanks World War II did not work well and was not often used. Churchill tanks came with infantry phones as standard. Wow. That's cool. That's something that never gets talked about either. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to resurrect my Churchill Airfix because the track didn't show up, but the day I get Churchills, I'll just buy the Plastic Soldier Company ones because they're 1/72nd scale. You don't want a Churchill that's small. Churchills are huge. Huge. You guys see that video where the chieftain in Lindy Beige crawl into a Churchill turret? It's hilarious. I think Lindy Beige is really funny. I'd love to play a game with him. The chieftain has a lot of information, but I just don't think he'd be a lot of fun to hang out with. He's a little too clinical for my taste. I like to crack up too much. Like that channel I just started watching recently, World War II TV. There's some excellent stuff on there, but the main moderator is just like he's like not having any fun. I don't know. There's some great stuff on there, but guy's a little too serious. Maybe I just like having too much fun. Oh well. I've been called worse. I mean, I play things serious, but man, there's time to. Funny shit happens. I didn't have a really good impression of Napoleonics because some of the folks that were playing Napoleonics. Channel 1 Fine Cool is called Story TV. It's all history. The channel you find cool is called Story TV. Okay. Check that out. When I first started wargaming as a kid, the people that ran Napoleonics was this older group, which I guess at that point were probably 15, 20 years older than me. And they just weren't having a good time. They're too serious. I never got into Napoleonics. I mean, I may have never gotten into Napoleonics if, you know, anyways, but I'm just saying that's the one thing that stuck out about Napoleonics. Like, yeah, the guys weren't having any fun. I'm not saying you should be goofing around, but, you know, exciting things happen. Get excited. Longest Day. I've never seen Longest Day. It's black and white. Maybe there's a colorized version. I'll watch that. I tried to start watch. I started watching and I'm like, I can't do this. All right. I'll get the 50 painted and we'll call this a morning. Black and white on purpose, I believe, probably wouldn't colorize. I'm out then. I ain't got time for black and white. I can just watch war footage. All right. It's about to be blinded by the light here, so. Okay, how long have we been on here? Wow, over 3 hours. Okay, folks, thanks for hanging out with me, and not sure if we'll be back on later today, but anyhow, did a good jump on this on the tanks. Man, the lighting just doesn't turn out, just doesn't come out on the video. Anyhow, it's not that dark. Okay, well, we'll see you guys soon, and